A shared folder is one you've made available to other users on your network. Generally, shared folders are stored on file servers or network storage devices, rather than on workstations. Shared folder permissions control access to the content of your shared folder. In Windows 10, you can share folders in a number of ways, using the Computer Management snap-in, from the command prompt, using Windows PowerShell commandlets, and by using File Explorer. To share using Computer Management, open up Computer Management, navigate to the System Tools Shared Folders folder, click on Shares, right-click and say New Share. You'll then need to specify the share folder name, what it is you want to share, and then configure permissions. From the command prompt, you can use the netshare command. If you type it by itself, netshare, it displays the existing shared folders. If you type netshare and then a share name, and then a path and permissions, as shown in the graphic here, you can share a new folder. When you use netshare, you have the following options on the command line. /grant:/user space permission. Specify read, change, or full share permissions for the specified user or group. /users: and a number. This limits the number of users that can connect to the share concurrently. You can use the remark property to add as a description to the share. You can also use the /cache option to specify the offline files caching options. This means that users will be able to access the content even if they're not currently connected to the shared folder. Clearly, they will have had to have cached those files. And then finally, if you use the share name /delete switch, it will remove an existing share. You can also use Windows PowerShell. Using the new SMB share commandlet as shown here enables you to create a new shared folder. The following additional commandlets can also be used. Get SMB share lists the existing shares on the computer. Get SMB share access lists the permissions of the share. The new SMB share commandlet creates a new shared folder. Set SMB share modifies the properties of an existing shared folder. Remove SMB share deletes a shared folder. And grant SMB share access sets the share permissions on an existing share. You can also use the Share tab in File Explorer. Locate the folder you want to share, click the Share tab, and then complete the wizard. Share With enables you to share a folder in a similar way. Locate the folder in File Explorer, right-click it, choose Share With, and then specify specific people. Finally, Advanced Sharing. If you right-click the folder in File Explorer that you want to share, click Properties, and then choose Sharing, and then click Advanced Sharing, you can exert more control over the precise details of the share. Select the checkbox for Share this folder, specify a shared folder name, and then add and remove permissions by using the Permissions button. By default, all shared folders are initialized with Everyone with read control. When you share a folder, you can configure 3 permission levels. Firstly, read, then change, and then full. For the exam, it's worth noting that shared folder permissions use the term change to describe the ability to do almost everything to a file, whereas, as we'll see later, when you set file permissions using NTFS, the term is modify. If you don't want to share individual specific folders, you can enable public folder sharing. Windows 10 provides the following public folders: Documents, Downloads, Music, Pictures, Videos. And these are stored in C/users/public. To enable public folder sharing, go to the Network and Sharing Center and choose Advanced Sharing Settings, and then turn on sharing so anyone with network access can read and write files in the public folders, or choose specific password-related settings. Let's take a look at sharing folders. In the demonstration, you'll see how to create a shared folder, assign permissions on the folder, manage shared folders, and enable public folder sharing. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to share a folder. I'm going to use command prompt first of all, and then I'll show you how to do things in File Explorer. First of all, let's navigate to the folder itself. There's a folder called Data in Drive C. It's not currently shared. Let's open up a command prompt now, and I'll open that elevated. If I type net share, it will show me that there are 3 default shares. the root of drive C, IPC dollar, which is a inter-process communication share, that's for remote management, and admin dollar, which points to the C/Windows shared folder. Notice that they all end in a $sign. That's interesting, actually. It's worth mentioning. Any shared folder you create that you put a $sign in the name is hidden from the browse list. So if I browse this computer from across the network, I won't see these 3 shared folders. I have to name them explicitly. So to connect to them, I'd have to know that there is a share called C dollar. To share a folder, type netshare, then the name of it, data, that it is C/data, and then I can specify permissions if I want to. I'll keep it simple for now and just go with the default values. And if I type netshare again, you can now see that there's a data folder shared. If I go back to File Explorer and choose Properties, and click on the sharing tab, you can see that it's shared. So we were easily able to do that from the command prompt. Now, for now, I'm just going to disable that share. I'm going to choose advanced sharing and clear the box for share this folder and click OK. And now that folder is no longer shared. And if I were to type netshare again, you see that it's no longer there. Right, let's just minimize that for now. To share using the Share tab, if I click on a folder now and click Share and then choose a particular individual, for example Dave or Sally, or specific people, I can then share the folder. This is quite a simple way or basic way of creating a share. I'm going to say sales. There's a group called sales on this computer, and then I can set the permissions as being read, write. You'll notice that's not the same terms that I used in the slide deck a moment ago. That's because when you choose this basic file sharing mechanism, it uses simpler terms, read, write. One of the very interesting things it does when you share a folder in this way is it also configures the NTFS file system permissions to match. I'm not going to share it that way. I'm going to click cancel for now. So normally how I'd share a folder, certainly on a file server, is to right click it and then choose Properties and then click the Sharing tab and then choose Advanced Sharing. This gives me a lot more control. First of all, I select the box for Share this folder. Notice how the share name defaults to the folder name. Now that's great, but obviously you may well have folders that have similar names or the same name, and you may soon exhaust the possibility of going down that route. You can't have 2 folders with the same share name. So you might want to specify something else there. I can limit the number of simultaneous users. It defaults to 20 on a Windows 10 computer. And then I can click Permissions and specify the level of access that people have to this shared folder. Bear in mind we have also to configure the underlying file and folder permissions on NTFS, but we'll deal with that in a later session. For now, these are the only permissions that the users will experience. As you see, it defaults to the Everyone group read permissions. You can choose full control, change, or read. Deny permissions that you set will override any allowed permissions. So I'm going to set change permissions, but I don't want to really use the group everyone. It's not very secure. So instead I'm going to add and type in sales. And I'm going to configure sales to have change permissions, and I'm going to remove that change permission for everyone. So anyone can connect to this shared folder and can see the contents and open the files at the moment, but only sales can modify the contents. In other words, create files and folders and modify their contents. If I want to make this folder available offline, I can click caching and specify one of these several options. Only the files and programs that users specify are available offline. So a user connected to this shared folder would need to right-click a file or a folder in the share and say make that particular file or folder available offline. Or no files or programs are available offline, or all of them are available automatically. That can have quite an impact on performance if you are dealing with a large amount of content in a shared folder. I'll click cancel to that for now. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I click OK. The folder is now shared, and I click close. Once you've shared some folders, you may want to manage them. Now, although you can manage them from within the File Explorer, right-click, Properties, Sharing, and go from Advanced Sharing, you can also use Computer Management. Right-click Start, choose Computer Management. And if I click on the Shared Folders node and then click on Shares, you can see the shared folders, the 3 default folders, and also the one that I've just created. And then I can stop sharing, or I can look at the properties from here. And again, I can configure offline settings, limit the number of maximum people that can connect. Although it says maximum allowed here, that's still 20 on a Windows 10 computer. On the Share Permissions dialog, I can specify permissions for everyone, and in this case for sales, or I can add and remove users. And then I can also look at the underlying file system security from that node. I'm going to talk about file system security shortly. My recommendation to you would probably be, if you are relying on NTFS file permissions to secure resources, then probably the sensible thing to do is to leave the shared permissions at everyone full control. That might sound like it's a time to ring the alarm bells, but if you think about it, and we'll discuss this shortly, that makes your life a lot easier as an administrator and allows you to rely on one set of permissions only. It provides for administrative clarity. I can also create new shares from within Computer Management, as you can see here. Now, not everyone's going to be as concerned with the minutiae of the detail of setting up shared folders. They might instead be more interested in just enabling access between a small collection of computers, maybe in a workgroup environment. Now, Windows 10 also supports a home group, something we'll be talking about later. But within a workgroup, you can also enable public folder sharing. You configure public folder sharing by opening up the Network and Sharing Center. Click on Change Advanced Sharing Settings. And you can see here that we've got Network Discovery enabled. That's because we're connected to a private network at the moment. And we have File and Print Sharing is turned on. We don't have any home groups set up, but we have the ability to allow Windows to manage home group connections. We can turn that on or off as we want. If you scroll down and click on All Networks, you can specify an encryption level for accessing public sharing, and you can turn on password protected sharing or turn it off. So if you enable public folder sharing within a workgroup, by default, users are prompted for passwords when they try to connect between folders on different machines. There's nothing for me to reconfigure here. I can turn on sharing so anyone with network access can read and write files in the public folders, or turn it off. So I'll turn it on now, save changes, and now the public folder content of my computer, which is under users public, is accessible from other computers in the workgroup. I mean, that's a bit of a security concern, but in a workgroup environment, 2 or 3 machines, it's a convenient way, I guess, of sharing content and other resources. One other thing that's worth looking at, if I switch back to Computer Management, you can also see under the Shared Folders node, you've got a Sessions and Open Files node. This shows you who's connected to your computer. And you can see here that a user called Andrew is connected from a computer called cl1.pearson.com. Okay, that's this computer actually, and has been connected for a period of time. They're not signed in as a guest. They've got a legitimate user account on this machine. If Andrew was to open a file, you'd see that listed under Open Files. So let's see that now. If I flip back to File Explorer, and I've mapped a network drive, and there's a folder in Marketing that contains a file. I'm going to open that file with, let's see, WordPad. Now I don't have permissions to save that because I'm not in the appropriate group, but I've opened the file to read it. If I flick back to Computer Management now, you can see that I've got a connection to the data folder and the marketing folder. I don't have any file locks because I've only got read access. So it's a very useful way of seeing who's connected to your computer and what it is that they're doing. I can also close files down if I want to. In the demonstration, you saw how to create a shared folder, assign permissions on that folder, manage shared folders, and how to enable public folder sharing.